Hey all, hope you're doing well. This is the second video in the Complete Beginner's Guide to Amazon series. In part 1 we covered a quick overview of Amazon, some terminology, and in the second part we're going to cover how to source products to sell on Amazon. This is probably the first step in your journey and you need to find the products that you're going to sell before you can do anything else. So the first and the cheapest method is the copy and paste method. This is very simple and it can be enhanced with a Chrome extension called Right-Click Search Amazon. If you go to the Chrome store and search for that, you'll find it, and I'll show you what it enables you to do. If you go to a site such as Argos, we should be searching from, find a product. If you highlight that product and then right-click, you can click here to search Amazon for that there, and this just saves you a bit of time instead of copying, going to Amazon and pasting. It doesn't save you much time, but in the long run it adds up. And that basically is what the copy and paste method is. You can do that, or you can literally just highlight it, paste it into the search bar, and then this is the same product. That's the copy and paste method. You would search for items, paste them, and then do the analysis which we're going to talk about in order to find products to sell. Another option is to use software. So the three main pieces of software are Tactical Arbitrage, FBA Wizard, and Source Mogul. I'm not going to go into too much detail with these. They all have their own pros and cons. I'd say for beginners, either FBA Wizard or Source Mogul is probably the best. For more advanced users, Tactical Arbitrage. I've got a link for FBA Wizard in the description if you decide to use it. It's an affiliate link, so I'll get a small commission if you do use it, but it's the same price regardless. I'm not necessarily recommending any of these pieces of software. I personally use Tactical Arbitrage, but for beginners, FBA Wizard and Source Mogul both work great. However, these are paid pieces of software. They're not essential, but they will enhance your sourcing experience. I will be doing separate videos to review each of these pieces of software, but for now, this is really what you need to be aware of. And what these pieces of software do is they will scan sites for you and then find products. So instead of you copying and pasting, you'll just be given a list of products which are potentially good. You'll sift through them, find the products that work, and buy them. So this is really a time-saving piece of software, and I would personally recommend it, but as a beginner, it's not essential. Third option is a deal flow or a deal sheet. The one I recommend and I use is Online Arbitrage Deals. Again, this is just a quick guide. I'm not going to go through everything in loads of detail, but essentially what this does is it will send you deals on a regular basis. You get a lot each day, and then these deals you can either pass on them or you can buy them. I'll probably buy a couple every day. Personally, there's some good stuff there's some bad stuff, but overall what you get is really great from the service, and I love it. I use it personally, and that's why I'm recommending it. As a beginner, again, you don't need it, but it will save you a lot of time. You don't have to go and find the products yourself. They are sent to you, and so for that reason, it's great. I'll leave a link for it in the description. Again, this is an affiliate link. The price is the same with or without it. You don't need to use my link, but I'll be grateful if you do. And again, this isn't essential. Beginners don't need it to start out with, but it's something I would look at getting once you get going. Analysis tools. Okay, so once you have software or you've got a method of finding products, you then need to analyze these products. To do this, you'll be using some intuition. You'll be looking at products, comparing, etc., which I'll go over. I'm going to be doing some examples once I've whizzed through these slides. So I'm going to give you a quick overview, and then I'm actually going to walk you through the process. So Keeper was an essential tool. Still it's not essential now because it's no longer free. You get some of the data for free, but the good stuff you have to pay for. It's not that much, and I would really recommend you get it. But there are other alternatives like Helium 10, which you can Google. I'll just add it here. If anyone wants to use that instead, I should probably go back to the slideshow. Helium 10 is an alternative. I still highly recommend Keeper, but you do have to pay now. Buybot Pro is a paid service that does analysis for you. I wouldn't rely wholly on it, but it saves you a lot of time, and it's great for beginners and advanced sellers. You get a lot of information, and it doesn't cost that much. I think it's about £25 a month. In the grand scheme of things, it's a bargain for what it is. Again, I'll leave a link in the description. It's an affiliate link, same deal. But I use it. I use online arbitrage deals, and I'm only recommending stuff that I personally use. I'm not going to recommend anything that I don't think is good. You don't have to use it, but this is one thing I would recommend even for beginners. The software, not essential, but this, yeah, BuyBot Pro Keeper, I would definitely recommend. Excuse me. So, yeah, I'm going to whiz through these and then, as I mentioned, do an example. Purchasing decisions, keeper analysis. So, keeper analysis I've done a video on. I will link it in the description. So be sure to check that out. It'll go through how to analyze the keeper graph. I'm not going to go through this here because it's a 15-minute job. It'll make the video too long. So check out that video in the description. Really useful. Yeah, keeper you do need. The price. So obviously when you're making a purchase, you need to consider the price you're going to be buying the product for and the price you're going to be selling it for. And then net of any fees, you'll use a calculator such as Amazon's fee calculator, which can be found in the mobile app or on their website. And then also BuyBot Pro, which I recommend, which gives you a breakdown of all the fees. You can customize it to account for a bunch of different fees, and then you will get an end result, your margin, which I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, so those prices are the main things, and then also the stability of the price. So a price may be fluctuating a lot. You might have a lower price where the item is selling, which you can tell from keeper, or you might have a high price where the item isn't selling, or it might be selling at a higher price as well. And you can see how fast the item is selling at different prices using keeper. So that's the price really. It gives you your margin, your ROI, which we talked about in the last video, and that determines how profitable the item is. So the competition is to do with the amount of sellers there are. If there's more sellers on a listing, obviously that's more competition, and it's not really a case of how many sellers there are, it's more about how many sellers there are around the buy box. Again, we talked about that in the first video, the buy box. Not sure what it is, go check it out. But essentially, we're only really concerned with the sellers around the buy box who we're competing with for sales. Or if we're not selling at the buy box, we're waiting for a higher price, how many sellers are between us at that point. I'll talk about this in more detail when I analyze something. Also need to consider the profile of the sellers. So there's 3 different types of sellers. There's Amazon themselves, and if Amazon on listing, it gets a bit more complicated. So I'll talk about this with keeper. But in short, if Amazon on the listing, we need to check if they're sharing the buy box, or if they're going out of stock. If they're going out of stock, we can then make sales. If they're sharing the buy box, we can make sales. If Amazon are hogging the buy box, we aren't going to be making sales, and it's going to be difficult. Don't avoid products just because Amazon are on the listing, but you need to do some analysis. Fulfilled by merchant. As talked about in the last video, this is when someone fulfills the order themselves. A fulfilled by merchant seller generally needs to be priced around 13% lower than an FBA seller to win the buy box. So as an FBA seller, if we receive FBM sellers, that's good. It means we can price it slightly higher and win the buy box in general. FBA sellers are going to be normally our main form of competition. We need to look at how many FBA sellers there are around the buy box and then use that to analyze our competition. The stock level of sellers is a consideration. So if someone's got 1 unit of stock left, it's going to be a bit less of an issue if someone's got hundreds. And we can check that using keeper, as mentioned in the keeper video, and also by doing the 999 cart trick, which I will briefly touch on. And then there's demand as well. So demand is dictated by keeper again. It's shown through the sales rank, and this is how many times people are buying the product. Again, this is over different price points. So you might be selling something 100 times a month at £10, but when the price is now £25 because sellers have sold out, the item might not be selling. So it might look like a good deal on paper, but not necessarily. So yeah, again, there are different price points, and then seasonality as well. A lot of items will sell better over Christmas time, or you think about goods like, I don't know, swimming costumes will sell better over summer, Halloween costumes around Halloween, that sort of thing. So again, it all comes down to keeper. Keeper is so essential to me anyway, but there are other factors which I will touch on when I do an example. So margins and ROI. So we discussed the price and how this gives you your profitability, and then I've discussed ROI in the last video. I use Buybot Pro. You can use Amazon's fee calculator for this, and it gives you your profitability and your margin and your ROI. It's important that you account for all your expenses properly, which is why Buybot Pro is great. It accounts for the VAT of Amazon's fees. It accounts for your inbound transportation costs, so sending the product into Amazon. I'll talk about that more in the next video. And then you also need to factor in your time. This is an important one. If you're making 50p on an item you sell for £10, you've got to consider the fact that you've spent all your time finding that product, getting it sent to you, and then prepping it and then sending it into Amazon. So you've got to account for that time. You need to be making a decent profit on items, or it's not really worth your time. In general, I'd say that you need to look for items with at least £1 profit on. That's not necessarily, you don't have to follow that rule. If an item's selling thousands a month and you can get loads of sales and make 70p every time, great. But for beginners, I'd say, yeah, look for items with at least £1 profit. That also gives you a bit of a margin in case the price does tank a bit. Ideally, you want more, but as a rule of thumb, I'd say for beginners, at least £1 profit. And then also, as mentioned, factor in all your expenses. I did a Facebook Live. I talked about this a lot, so go and check that out on my YouTube channel. But yeah, expenses, you need to account for all of them, including refunds. You're going to be getting refunds, so factor that into your profit calculations. Eligibility, I talked about this in the first video. You need to check if you're gated or if the item's hazmat. If you're gated, you can try and get approved to sell the product. I'll go into more in another video. And hazmat, talked about if it's hazmat, you can't sell it FBA. Buybot Pro is great for this because it tells you straight away for either of these two things. The other way to tell is to add an item to your inventory, which I'll show you now. Right, so I've decided, to cut that part out because there's too much stuff in my Amazon Seller Central that's sensitive, but it's quite easy. If you hover over inventory and click add a product, you type in the ASIN or the barcode or the product name, and then it will say whether you can sell the product or not. But honestly, I highly recommend you get Buybot Pro and it will tell you straight away. So before we go on to this, I'm going to do an example, try and go through all those things I've touched upon. So if we start off with this product, say we've done copy and paste method or we found it, and then if we've used software, it'll give you both links. If you use a deal sheet, it'll give you both links. And for this example, if we say this costs £35, this is Buybot Pro here. I'm going to enter the buy price. I always do this first, click analyze, because as I said, it tells you straight away if I can sell it. Eligibility here says if it's hazmat, says if it's potentially private label. Okay, so this is an important part. If it's private label, that means, as we talked about in the first video, someone is selling that as their brand and you often won't be able to sell that. So this gives you an indication of whether it's private label or not. You'll need to do your own research. I'm not going to go into this now because there's a lot of considerations there, and it's often this won't tell you exactly if it is private label or not, but it'll give you an indication. And in general, avoid private label products. Yeah, so the considerations we talked about. Okay, so not private label, or unlikely, it could still be. You need to check. I'm eligible to sell it. I'm not gated. It's not hazmat, so that's good. I can do that FBA. Here, ASIN. I'm not going to go through all this Buybot Pro stuff now, but here, look at this profit margin we were talking about. This is the fee breakdown. Yeah, so it tells you the referral fee there we talked about in the first video, the fulfillment fee, and then there's other fees there, the VAT on the fees, and other costs such as shipping. So you can go into settings, account for all those expenses here. You can add a percentage onto your buy price for refunds, and then that gives you down here your ROI and your profit. So remember, I said as a rule of thumb, you want to be making at least £1, so it ticks that box. A 19% ROI, generally as a rule of thumb, you're going to be looking for over 30, but yeah, it's really personal preference. It's just with here, you've got to count, the lower the ROI, the more sensitive the product is generally to refunds. On expensive products, you might not be getting a higher ROI, you might be getting a lot of profit, but then if you're getting refunds, that's going to damage you. Keeper graph, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I have covered that in the Keeper video. Let me just go back here to see what I want to go over. Yep, so Keeper, that's this here. I don't personally use Helium 10, but it is a free alternative. Buybot Pro, that's this here. Look at all this data it gives you. tells you estimated sales per month from Keeper based on these green lines. Yeah, definitely check out the Keeper video. And then the competition analysis, this shows you other sellers and the prices they're selling at. To get that information, what you do is go here. So this is the competition side of things. The price we've done here, we've seen the profit, competition side of things. Go here, look at the other sellers. If it ever loads. But yeah, scroll down. And then using Keeper, which I talked about, you can get this here, which shows the amount of stock. But yeah, so these sellers here, if it's got this means they're FBA sellers. If it doesn't, they're merchant fulfilled. And if Amazon's on the listing, it'll say Amazon. And as shown in the Keeper video, some of this will be orange. So here, around the buy box, so the buy box here is £55. That's the price we're going to click if we hit this buy now button. And we can see here there's 2 sellers, FBA sellers, around that price. So if we jumped on this listing, there'll be 3 sellers around this price. So we might want to look at how many sales it's doing a month. So if estimate 26, yeah, and there's 3 sellers including us, we might want to buy, say if we buy a month worth of stock or 2 months worth of stock. As a beginner, I'd say you probably want to be buying around a month worth of stock. So yeah, 27 divided by 3 is 9. So you might want to say if you're going to buy this product, you probably want to buy around 9 of them. There's other factors, but as a beginner, that's a rule of thumb. So here, as you see, it doesn't say how much stock they've got. What you can do is click Add to Basket, and hopefully this doesn't show all my details. Yeah, sorry, the internet's been pretty slow. So we're on this now, the purchasing decisions. We're talking about the competition. While that's loading, we'll talk about the demand. So that's the number of sales. Use the Keeper analysis. We can see here the price has been pretty stable, which is good. Sometimes, a lot of the time with OA here, look, you can see that price has tanked. It's gone down and then recovered. That is a common theme with OA, RA. Expect to see that a lot. You can see here the number of sellers has jumped, the price has gone down, and then it's recovered. But yeah, I'd say this is a pretty healthy Keeper graph. I'd say it's a decent product from what I've seen so far. Obviously the price is not 35, we're just doing this as an example. Yeah, so if you click Edit Basket, and if you change the quantity here, yeah, apologies for the speed here. Type in 99, click Update, and it'll say the seller's got 25. So that's a little trick you can see to find out how much stock the seller has got. That's important for your pricing decisions as well, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, so that's the main purchasing decisions you need to look at. One big thing as well is making sure the products are the same. Look at the title, the same. You can look at the images, look through the images, make sure the product's the same. A lot of the products might look similar, but they're not actually the same product. Yeah, look through them all. I mean, this one looks the same. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. One good thing about Argos as well, a little trick, they'll often give you the EAN, which is like the barcode number. What you can do is copy that, search it here, and if it comes up with the products, it's pretty much going to be the same. Go through stuff like weight, size, to see, make sure it's the same. Especially when you're getting started, you want to be making sure the products are the same. It's essential, and I've said that a few times now, but it's important. A few other considerations I didn't talk about: item weight. As mentioned, the heavier it is, the more it's going to cost you to send it in, and the more the fulfillment fee is going to be. Bigger it is, the dimensions, the more it's going to cost you to send it in, and the more it's going to be the fulfillment fees. Another one's the reviews. So here you can actually see this is slightly problematic. Yeah, if an item has got a lot of reviews and they're 3 stars or less, that's probably going to indicate that you're going to be getting some returns. There's a lot of unhappy customers, and so you're going to have to factor that in. And you could say, if we get 10% returns or whatever, I don't know, just put that as 38.50. You just need to factor it in, and then that wipes out a lot of the profit. And so this might look, yeah, great, making £6 profit on face of it. Then you've got to consider all your other expenses, and you've got to factor in your time as mentioned. And then this here is a big worry to me. A lot of the times you might only get 2 or 3 reviews, not a big deal. But here, if we've got 86 reviews and a lot of them are 1 star, look at that 30%. If someone's got a 1 star review, they're probably going to be returning it. So this might be even higher than that. And so after that, I'd avoid this product. But say if this was 5 stars and the purchase price was 35, especially if we can get cash back. Remember the cashback I talked about in the first video, then that'll boost that. So this could be a profitable one, but given the reviews, I'm going to avoid it. I'm just thinking of any other considerations I can think of. Yeah, I mean, those are the main ones. I want to keep this pretty beginner friendly and not drag the video out too long. So, I mean, yeah, if you've got any questions, then definitely ask. But in terms of next steps, you can do the copy and paste method. Cool, if you want to get a feel for it. I personally skipped that. I went straight into software. The reason why is because you can pretty much get a free month of sourcing. Tactical Arbitrage, FBA Wizard, and Source Mogul all offer free trials. I've given a link for FBA Wizard in the description. You can use that as a disclaimer. It's an affiliate link, same for all of these. I'll get a commission if you use them, but the price is the same regardless. And if you do use it, I'll be very grateful. I get a little bit of money, but yeah, the price is the same regardless. So back on point, FBA Wizard, Tactical Arbitrage, Source Mogul all offer free trials. Just Google codes for them and use the free trials, and you can get pretty much a free month of sourcing near enough doing that. So that gives you time to try out the software, see if they're for you, see one which works best for you, and also it's free and you can find products while you're doing that. If you want to use the deal flow system, online arbitrage deals, I'll drop a link in the description. Again, it's an affiliate link, and if you use the code DC79, you'll get that for a discounted price. Buybot Pro, I really highly recommend this. It's the only thing I'd say you definitely need to buy. Keeper as well I would buy, but Buybot Pro does offer you some of the information Keeper gives, so I guess you could just buy Buybot Pro to start with and see if that works for you. Yeah, I'll drop a link for Buybot Pro in the description. Get Keeper if you want to. I do recommend it, but it's up to you. So in summary, I'd say you can do copy and paste method, it's free, but you might as well get those sourcing software to start with for a trial, it's free. After that, up to you. Deal flows, up to you. Buybot Pro, definitely recommend. Keeper, recommend, but sort of up to you. You can get started for free. You don't necessarily need Buybot Pro or Keeper, but I think it'd be wise not doing it. Again, I'm only recommending stuff that I use myself. I use OAD, I use Buybot Pro, I use Keeper, and I use Tactical Arbitrage. Yeah, sorry. Conscious that this video is dragging on, so I recommend you join the Facebook group. I'll put a link in the description, iGen Entrepreneur. A lot of good community there. If you ask, then your question will be answered, and there's a lot of great tips that I post. A lot of the stuff that I've touched on briefly here, I go into more detail. This is just an overview, quick summary. I can't go into everything in this video. In the next video, we'll be talking about how to ship your products into Amazon. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Once this video hits 30 likes, I'll be releasing that how to ship your products into Amazon. So be sure to hit that like button, and the sooner you do, the quicker that video will be released. Please subscribe to my channel. Makes me happy, put a smile on my face, as you can see there by the smiley. Yeah, but I hope that video has helped. It's a bit all over the place, but it is hard to cover everything. Purchasing, once you start out, there's a few factors you need to consider, but the more you do it, the more you'll realize that there's a lot to it. And OAD is a great business model. It is beginner friendly. Don't let me put it off. Don't let me put you off, sorry. It is great, but it's by no means a get rich quick scheme. You are going to have to put effort in at the beginning, but it is very rewarding once you make that first sale. So yeah, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.